Sorry to interrupt you there, but we have some more breaking news that's now coming in. The trouble is mounting for Arvind Kejriwal as far as his plea challenging his arrest is concerned. That's before the Supreme Court. We're given to understand the prosecution complaint is being filed today against the Aam Aadmi Party in the excise policy case. ASG Raju has told the court that the Aam Aadmi Party has now been made an accused in this particular case. It's not just Arvind Kejriwal, it's the party as a whole that would also be seen as an accused in the Liquorgate scam. Ananya, my colleague, joining us, getting us more details. Ananya, we broke this news yesterday that the prosecution complaint was going to be filed. It has happened today. We're given to understand that the court has been apprised of it as well.
Well, definitely, the court is apprised that the prosecution complaint is to be filed today itself. Though it has not been filed yet before the Rouse Avenue Court, but it will be filed in the course of the day. But very, very clearly and categorically, the Supreme Court has now been informed that this prosecution complaint, which would implicate the Aam Aadmi Party as an accused in this particular case. In fact, it's the first time in the history of the country, in fact, the criminal jurisprudence of the country itself, that a political party would be made an accused in fact, a money laundering case. And very, very clearly, it is something that is very, very important, a subsequent development in the Delhi liquor excise policy scam case. Remember, all of this stems from Manish Sisodia's case where, it was the same bench of Justice Sanjeev Khanna which had asked as to if the Aam Aadmi Party had been receiving this much of money, then why it has not been named as an accused in this particular charge sheet. The Enforcement Directorate at that point of time said that it is being considered, and finally, after months, after almost a year, in fact, the Aam Aadmi Party will now be made an accused in this particular case. Remember that the key allegation is that the Aam Aadmi Party was a major beneficiary of this whole liquor policy scam case, and the kickbacks were received by virtue of the Aam Aadmi Party, and that were used in the Goa election. In fact, yesterday also, ASG Raju had pointed out that, Arvind Kejriwal stayed in a 7-star hotel, and that money, the payments of those bills were actually done in cash, and that money had come in through Hawala channels too. In fact, the Aam Aadmi Party to spend it on the Goa election, and that was one of the use of this particular thing that was shown by the Additional Solicitor General appearing for the Enforcement Directorate. Now, what is very, very clear at this particular point of time is that troubles are definitely mounting for the Delhi Chief Minister, because companies or political party in this particular case are made an accused by way of their national conveners or their representatives. And Arvind Kejriwal, being the national convener of the Aam Aadmi Party, would be made vicariously liable in this particular case. There would be a vicarious liability under Section 70 of the Prevention of Money Laundering Act 2002. That would be attached to the Delhi Chief Minister in this particular case. What would be interesting to see is that whether this charge sheet also names Arvind Kejriwal, because at this particular point of time, only 3 days are left with the Enforcement Directorate to actually file a charge sheet against the Delhi Chief Minister. The 60-day period is going to end on the 20th of May, because he was arrested on the 21st of March. And that's exactly why, it is in all likelihood that the Delhi Chief Minister too is named in this charge sheet, though a particular submission with this regard has not been given before the Supreme Court. But very clearly, the Aam Aadmi Party is definitely being made an accused in the fresh prosecution complaint that would be filed by the Enforcement Directorate today itself.
The hearing is still underway, is what we're given to understand. But what happens next now that the prosecution complaint has been filed, Ananya?
Well, whenever the prosecution complaint would be filed in this particular case, it would be first filed before the filing counter of the Rouse Avenue Court. Then it would reach the district and sessions judge, who will mark the case, mark the prosecution complaint to, in fact, the special CBI judge who's actually hearing this case, which is Kaveri Baveja. And then she will now consider this. First, the charge sheet would be checked, and then the cognizance would be taken in a day or two after hearing arguments on the point of cognizance in this particular case. So very, very importantly, this is a key development and a whole twister in the Delhi liquor excise policy scam case, because the main beneficiary, as per the Enforcement Directorate, is now being made an accused in this particular case as well.
So the Enforcement Directorate is going to be investigating the Aam Aadmi Party as a whole, not just Arvind Kejriwal or Manish Sisodia as far as the Liquorgate scam is concerned. It was the Aam Aadmi Party that is the beneficiary of the proceeds of crime, is what the agency believes, which is why this prosecution complaint has been filed against the Aam Aadmi Party. Politically, what does this mean? Next, from here, what action could the agency, Ananya, take for the Aam Aadmi Party? It is election season. It is going to be an extreme setback for them.
Well, definitely, it would be an extreme setback because now what would the effect of filing of this prosecution complaint could be that the Aam Aadmi Party's, assets could be attached, their office bearers will become directly liable in this particular case, whether it's the treasurer, whether it's the other, key functionaries of the Aam Aadmi Party who hold key positions in the AAP, including the Delhi Chief Minister, who's the national convener of the party. These people would be made liable and troubles can mount to them as well. So that's something that is troubling for the Aam Aadmi Party. That too, in the election season. If you remember what had happened in fact, the Delhi High Court hearing when it was hearing Arvind Kejriwal's plea challenging arrest, the same order which is challenged before the Supreme Court. In fact, it was asked to Mr. Raju as to when the Aam Aadmi Party would be made an accused, and he had said that if at all the Aam Aadmi Party is made an accused in this particular case at this point of time, people will start crying foul that, this is the election season and that's why the Aam Aadmi Party is being made an accused in this particular case. But at this particular point of time, a clear submission to the Supreme Court that the Aam Aadmi Party will be made an accused, because there are constant questions from the Supreme Court since the very beginning that why the Aam Aadmi Party has not been made an accused even after being a major beneficiary to this whole Liquorgate saga.
Right. Ananya, stay on with us. Arunima also joining us on this broadcast, getting us more details. Arunima, it looks like today is going to be a day of double whammy for the Aam Aadmi Party. The prosecution complaint they're being filed against the party as a whole. We're also given to understand that the charge sheet is likely to be filed today.
Yes, so that prosecution complaint, because it's an ECIR and this is under PMLA, so the terminology that they use for a charge sheet is prosecution complaint. This is the supplementary prosecution complaint or a supplementary charge sheet as we understand in the common parlance. Section 70 of the PMLA, of the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, is what the ED is likely to invoke, saying that because Arvind Kejriwal is an accused in this matter and he is a national convener of the Aam Aadmi Party, therefore a vicarious responsibility can be fixed on the entire party. What would this effectively mean in the election season? If the court accepts the ED's contention, if the cognizance of the prosecution complaint is taken, ED could move to attach all bank accounts, all funds of the Aam Aadmi Party. Any property that they have could get attached also, which means not just for the current Lok Sabha election, but in the run-up to the Delhi Assembly elections, which are just round the corner, Aam Aadmi Party could face a fund crunch. Second, their very existence could be threatened, because under the Representation of People's Act, if you are a political party which is facing a serious charge in a court of law, the Election Commission in its wisdom can decide to take away your stature of a national party. So Aam Aadmi Party, after this prosecution complaint, is facing an existential crisis.
What happens next? We'll keep a track of that. For the moment though, Arunima and Ananya, thank you so much for getting us the latest on this case.